freedom, radio freedom, radio freedom, sarkin Kano Sanusi, Kano kanan dai baba ya biya. Sarkin Kano Sanusi, matan Kano Sanusi, domin ka tura haushi, ga mu muna jiran Sanusi, sanda. Babu da damuwa kiɗan sarkin Kano Sanusi, Kano kanan dai baba ya biya. Mai sanci auri sarki, ɗazu ta gani har da ci auri mai madoki. Mai bakin jini ya ji macin cikin dawaki, turakin jini ya baki da mai awaki. Mai zama jini ya zama na kiɗa kiɗan sarkin Kano muna nan mai Kano kanan sai masu gaskiya. Mata aiki ta taɓa ne ana rawa turabe ɗan ba da na iya ma. Babu da damuwa kiɗan sarkin Kano Sanusi, Kano kanan dai baba ya biya. Sarkin Kano Sanusi, matan Kano Sanusi, domin ka tura haushi, ga mu muna kiran Sanusi, sanda. Wani walad ya bani haushi, sanda. Wani walad ya bani haushi, sai ya jefa mai abinci, wai sai an bar su ma da barci, wai sai mata su bar abinci. In kai ka san kai hawaii, Allah ya yi ilimin sarkin Kano ya mai sarkin Kano ya hudu. Wannan ke bangaren da kunci, wani dan buti nan mai yawan da bacci, wani dan bulbul haka mai yawan zamuni. Shekara dubu ana tare, tattalar ta ma ana shirya tsare-tsare. Ke kaza kin zo da tone-tone, ki tona rani har kuɗi nan garaje. Sarki da ya martaba ce, iko na Allah wannan tabbata ce. Mai halayen Allah da wahala ne, mai shawara aiki da ya ba shi face. Makaryaci kullum ɗan yaudara ne, mabauta Allah shi ne wanga zance. Mai bin iyaye na yarin gida ce, Sanusi da ido ga shi zaune. Iko na Allah ya bar shi zaune, mai da ikon Allah ga magaka. Saki uban maza Abdu, kai ne taɓa ba a san maza da musu, kai ne ma wajen zama nasu. Bango kake kuma madafarsu, ko sun so a sanya sunansu, ko ma ba sun so Sanusi kafi su. In sun so Sanusi sarkinsu, in ma ba sun so Sanusi sarkinsu. Baba Allah da ya kare imani, ba da karfe ikon ba shi hana ma Allah ya yi iko ne. An yi makomar mai ta mutane, ko ma ba sun so Sanusi kafi su. In sun so Sanusi sarkinsu, in ma ba sun so Sanusi sarkinsu. Baba Allah da ya kare imani, ba da karfe ikon ba shi hana ma Allah ya yi iko ne. An yi makomar mai ta mutane, gargaga da mutane da makamai, wata cikin yana da mutane. Da karfe shana ma ya yi ne, an yi makomar mai ta mutane, gargaga ka tara mutane da makamai, wanga cikin yana da mutane. To, zaki uban maza Audu, kai ne da ba a san maza da musu, kai ne ma wajen zama nasu. Bango kake kuma madafarsu,
Assalamu alaikum. Please can everybody return to their seat? We're about to start this event. Can we ask everybody, all our guests, kindly return to your seats? Members of the media, can I ask you to be a little smart in the way you place your cameras so that you do not actually infringe on the rights of the people that are seated. Who is saying the prayer? Malam. Everybody, please take your seat. We want to start and end on time. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kadria Ahmed, and I'm going to be the anchor for this event. And before we start, it's important that we put everything in the hands of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so I'd like to call on Malam Abu Bakr Tijani for the opening prayer and the recitation of the Quran. Malam Abu Bakr Tijani, please.
وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له لعلكم ترحمون. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وابتغوا إليه الوسيلة وجاهدوا في سبيله لعلكم تفلحون. إن الذين كفروا لو أن لهم ما في الأرض جميعا ومثله معه ليفتدوا به من عذاب يوم القيامة ما تقبل منهم ولهم عذاب أليم. يريدون أن يخرجوا من النار وما هم بخارجين منها ولهم عذاب مقيم. والسارق والسارقة فاقطعوا أيديهما جزاء بما كسبا نكالا من الله والله عزيز حكيم. فمن تاب من بعد ظلمه وأصلح فإن الله يتوب عليه. إن الله غفور رحيم. ألم تعلم أن الله له ملك السماوات والأرض يعذب من يشاء ويغفر لمن يشاء والله على كل شيء قدير. صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah. Thank you. Recitation of the Holy Quran. Can we all stand up now, please, for the national anthem? Please be seated. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we get fully into the program, a few housekeeping rules. Can I ask everybody who has a phone to either put it on silence or to switch it off? If you need to make a phone call during this event, then I ask you to please step outside to make your telephone call. to ensure that you do not interrupt the very important proceedings that are about to take place. There are two exits. There's the main front exit that you came through, and there's another exit at the back. This, for security reasons, everybody is required to know exactly where the exits are. So please acquaint yourself with the exit that is nearest to the place where you are sitting. Again, my name is Kadria Ahmed, and I'm the anchor for the Muhammasdu Sanusi Colloquium, the first edition, and I welcome you to this event. We have a very limited time to get through the activities for today. And I know there's a lot of very important people, many of whom are billed to speak. Can I please ask people to respect the time allocated to them? Otherwise, I'll have no hesitation but to politely tell them to stop. We do need to start and end on time. Let me start by welcoming the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasu Erufai, ably represented here by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Hadiza Sabwa Balarabe. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us on this occasion. I'd also like to welcome the man in whose honor we are actually holding this event, Muhammasdu Sanusi II. I don't even know how to introduce him because he is so many things to so many people. Our royal father, His Highness Ambassador Ahmed Nu Bamali, the Emir of Zauzau, is also honoring us with his presence today. The Emir of Ringim, His Highness Alhaji Isa Abubakar Umar II, is also here, honoring us with his presence. The wives of the Emir, the wives of our royal father, Muhammasdu Sanusi II, are also here. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, other royal aides. In addition, our keynote speaker, who is here with us as well, as well as Professor Andrea Brigaglia, who will be delivering the keynote address. My mistake. To introduce all of the speakers properly as and when they are about to speak. I don't want to take up too much time. We will do more protocol as and when required. Let me start by quickly inviting Malam Ibrahim Sengi, the chairman of the organizing committee, I'd like to invite the chairman of the organizing committee, Malam Ibrahim Sengi, to introduce this program properly.
Yeah, thank you very much, the host, Kadiri Ahmed. Let me start on existing protocol. My name is Ibrahim Sengi. Your Excellency, the celebrant, His Highness Sarki Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II, and the Royal Highnesses. You are welcome to this, the maiden edition of Muhammasdu Sanusi II colloquium holding in the city of Kaduna. This maiden edition of the colloquium is to mark the 60th birthday of His Highness. It started when the news about his 60th birthday was in the was in the media. So myself and other of his well-wishers, we thought it wise to organize the colloquium on our own. So the idea gathered momentum, and before you know it, people shown interest, and fortunately for us, one of the wives of His Highness get across to us, and the connection was made, and His Highness accepted the idea. So we have gone a long way. Yesterday, we had a virtual pre-colloquium event, which was attended by many people, and we have experienced resource persons that participated in the breakout sessions, and His Highness graced the virtual pre-colloquium event, where he granted what I call explosive remark about his journeys across the various domains. So actually, this colloquium has a logo which is about eccentric cycles. So these eccentric cycles of this logo are 6 in number. These 6 together recognize the 60 years of His Highness. So the first one of the cycle, as we are all aware, a cycle has no end. It continues to strengthen, to extend. So the first of the logo, represents His Highness as an academic. We all know the role he played as an academic, while the second cycle represents His Highness as a public intellectual. We are all aware of his various contributions and the Gamji.com and in various fora where he championed a lot of topical issues affecting northern Nigeria. So the third cycle, which is about his professional life as a banker. He was a risk manager, a CEO of a bank, and the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. So the fourth cycle, which is about the life of His Highness as a traditional authority in northern Nigeria at the 14th Emir of Kano. And the fifth cycle is about the Emir as a religious authority, the Khalifa of Tijaniya Sufi order in Nigeria and the neighboring countries. The sixth cycle, which is the final, we define it as X. His Highness is a leader and continue to be a leader, and that X, we can define it now. Time will tell. So, Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you this year's Muhammasdu Sanusi second colloquium and invite you to listen to our respected speakers who will extray the lives of His Highness as he traverses the three key domains of the many lives he lived. These three domains are as a professional banker, as a traditional authority, and as a Khalifa of the Sufi, Tijaniya Sufi order. Allah ya taimaki Sarki Halifa, the icon of reforms. Thank you.
Another round of applause, please, for the chairman of the organizing committee of this important event. I'd like to make a slight correction. When I introduced His Highness, the Emir of Ringim earlier, I made a slight mistake with his name. I do apologize. His Highness Alhaji Abubakar Sayyidi Mahmoud, the Emir of Ringim, is with us as well. So also is His Excellency Aminu Waziri Tambua, the Sokoto State Governor. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We are also joined by His Royal Highness, the Emir of Awe, Alhaji Isa Abubakar II, the representative of the former Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, Honorable Ali Ahmed is also here. So also is Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, the person who contested for the governorship elections in Kano State under the PDP. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Okay, well, it looks like we have a rich day ahead of us. You heard there the 6 concentric circles that essentially describe His Highness Khalifa Muhammad Sanusi II. And without wasting too much time, I'd like to call our royal father, His Royal Highness, Ambassador Ahmed Nuhu Bamali, the Emir of Zazzau, for the opening remarks as the chairman of this occasion.
Is it on? Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Excellency, the Governor of Kaduna State, ably represented by the Deputy Governor, Haja Hadiza Sabo Balarabe, Your Excellency, the Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Waziri Tambua, Your Highnesses, the Emir of Ringim, the Emir of Away, and of course, my brother and personal friend, mentor, and confidant, Muhammasdu Sanusi II. I'm really delighted to be here today, to be the chair of this occasion. Even though I'm not a very good speaker, very unlike Khalifa and other good speakers, but I think I have a few things to say about this event. Oh, sorry, I have not mentioned the former deputy governor of the central bank, Kingsley Moghalu, and all other speakers that are going to speak in a few minutes' time. You're all welcome to this very important event. I'm delighted that this is an opportunity, for us to know so much about Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi, the 14th Emir of Kano, because I have seen, the caliber and pedigree of, the speakers, and I believe they'll do justice, to this important personality. I'm not in doubt, that these speakers have a lot to say, because each and every one of them has so much to say. And I think the chairman of the chairman of the organizing committee has done justice to me by stating what this colloquium is all about. And I'm happy, at least, that we're going to know so much about the pedigree of Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi, his antecedent as the central bank governor, and also as the Emir of Kano, equally as an academician. So I believe today is going to be a good day. It's going to be great. And I hope and pray that after this event, we'll also assemble in Abuja again, to be part of the second phase of this celebrations. And congratulations on your birthday, the 60th birthday. And I think he's only a few years younger than me. Well, we're getting there very soon also, just midway. But inshallah, we'll get there in good health. And I'm so happy that even his coronation as Emir of Kano, he became the Emir of Kano on my birthday. So we have so many things in common with Emir Sanusi. Alhamdulillah, ala kulli halin, and we pray to Almighty Allah to give him good health, many more years, and also may he also elevate him to the highest position in this world and in the hereafter. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome, to this occasion, and I hope we'll get to hear so much about, the subject matter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
I am sure we can do much better in thanking His Royal Highness Ambassador Ahmed Nuba Mali, the chairman of this occasion. Thank you very much, sir, for those remarks. And for the timely reminder that we're actually celebrating a 60th birthday. I'm looking at him and he does not look 60. He doesn't at all. Okay, without wasting any more time, I'd like to invite Her Excellency, Hajia Dr. Hadiza Sabwa, the Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, ably representing His Excellency Malam Nasru El-Rufai, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, who is unavoidably absent, to deliver his welcome address. Welcome, ma'am.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, Your Highness, on whose behalf we are all gathered here, His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II, a friend of our governor, and by extension, a friend of Kaduna State. His Highness, the Emir of Zazzau, who is the chairman of this occasion, His Highness Ambassador Nuhu Ahmad Bamali, other Royal Highnesses here present, the family of His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II, distinguished and eminent speakers, facilitators, friends of His Royal Highness, members of the House of Assembly here present, past and present, members of the Kaduna State Exco, members of the organizing committee of this momentous occasion, esteemed personalities who are too numerous to mention at this time, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I am delighted to be the one to welcome you at this very important event. The state is elated that this inaugural colloquium in honor of His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II is holding in Kaduna. I once again wish to extend His Excellency's regrets for not being here. He's presently out of the country, but he wishes this meeting a very, very impacting discussion. The colloquium rightly celebrates His Highness, a highly cerebral man who had earned due recognition as an economist, a banker, and public intellectual of outstanding rigor and erudition long before he became the trailblazing and reforming Emir of Kano. Regal in bearing, yet most approachable. Of strong convictions, yet always open to debate. His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II is no doubt a gift to Nigeria. His Highness is a member of the generation born around independence, raised in a period of optimism for our country and determined to do their best to help raise the rich promise that Nigeria's people and natural endowments have long suggested. His Highness has been a most eloquent ambassador for these progressive possibilities. He has not only thought deeply about them, he has provided distinguished service in various roles. In him, we have a man that is as outstanding in his thoughts as he is in his actions. His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II has publicly associated himself with our efforts to reform Kaduna State, making lives better by putting people first. As Emir of Kano, he attended many of our events, from our investment summits to the double we put together to celebrate the centenary of Kaduna City. Your Highness, the Kaduna State government is indeed grateful to you that you accepted to serve as the Vice Chairman of the Board of the Kaduna Investment Promotion Agency and as Chancellor of the Kaduna State University. We were indeed delighted to have you at the recent meeting of the Kadipa Board, and we look forward to your continuous support as we pursue progressive attainments for the benefit of our people. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all, and I invite you to sit back and enjoy this inaugural Muhammasdu Sanusi II colloquium. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Another round of applause, please, for Her Excellency for doing that job so well. And now, so that we get a better sense of the man that we are celebrating and in whose honor this colloquium is being held, His Highness Khalifa Muhammad Sanusi II, I call Malam Mustafa Zaharuddin to give us a citation of the celebrant. Malam Mustafa Zaharuddin, come and talk to us a little bit more about the multitude of achievements of the Khalifa. Is he around?
من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasuru Ahmad Al-Rufai, ably represented by Dr. Savwa Balarabe, Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Amin Waziri Tambol, His Highness Sarkin Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II, CON, Royal Highness present, speakers at this occasion, not forgetting the chairman of this occasion, His Highness Ambassador Ahmad Nuhu Bamali, the Emir of Zazzau. At this point, please permit me to stand on these existing protocols. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have a brief version of what is written in the program of event. May I, with your permission, His Excellency, the chairman of this occasion, to read the dissertation I brought along with me. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to present to you Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi, an economist, a banker, an erudite scholar in Arabic and Islamic education, a public intellectual, a former governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, the 14th Emir of Kano, and the Khalifa of Tanzania Sufi order in Nigeria. Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II was born on 31st July 1961 into the royal and scholarly family of Alhaji Muhammad Ahmad Amin Sanusi, the son of Alhaji Muhammad Sanusi, the 11th Emir of Kano, one of the most famous emir of all time. Alhaji Muhammad Amin Sanusi, then Chiroman Kano, was a technocrat and career diplomat who served as permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from 1973 to 1979. Prior to that, Alhaji Muhammad Ahmed Sanusi served as Nigeria's ambassador to Canada, Belgium, and China, after which he was the pro-chancellor and chairman of the governing council of University of Jos from 1986 to 1993. Maternally, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II is a descendant of Gwani Imam Manzara, second Fulani chief imam of Kano. Over the years, numerous imams and judges in Kano were from his maternal lineage. Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II attended the prestigious King's College, Lagos, and had his West African Examination Council examination WAEC in 1977. He then went to Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and graduated with a degree of BSc Economics in 1981. He also obtained an MSc Economics with a specialization in monetary economics with distinction in 1983. He then briefly taught economics in the same department from 1983 to 1985. In 1985, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi left the university to start a career in banking industry, a career that saw him rise to the top of the league title within 2 decades. Briefly, he joined Icon Limited Merchant Bankers, a subsidiary of New York's Morgan Guaranty Trust Bank and London's Bain Brothers. In 1992, Khalifa took a leave from the banking industry in the interest of Islamic religion and culture to study Sharia and Islamic studies at the International University of Africa, Khartoum, Sudan. He successfully graduated in 1977 with a first-class BA honors degree. On his return to Nigeria, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi, as a more rounded banker and an accomplished Arabic and Islamic scholar, joined the United Bank for Africa, UBA, as the bank's credit and bank risk management division, where he rose to become the general manager. In September 2005, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi left the services of UBA to join the board of First Bank as an executive director in charge of risk and management control. 4 years later, he was appointed the group managing director of First Bank. Historically, the first Nazara to occupy the position in more than 100 years of the bank's existence. Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II was also the chairman of Kakawa Discount House and a member on the board of FBN UK Limited. In June 2009, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi was appointed the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. His appointment came at a height of global financial crisis, where impact threatening the collapse of the Nigerian banking industry, obviously due to large exposure to the capital market and excessive lending margin by some Nigerian banks, that is, lending a vulnerable sector like petroleum industry. Of a governor of central bank within a short time had far-reaching consequences then and the future of banking in Nigeria. Some of them were prompt and decisive action to save the banking system from imminent collapse. Establishment of Asset Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, as a recovery vehicle to avert crisis in the banking industry. Collaboration with the financial authorities to improve the microeconomic, financial, and monetary policies. Strengthening regulatory and supervisory frameworks to ensure healthy banking industry. Establishing a consumer and financial protection division to further engender public confidence in banking system. Issuance of new framework for Islamic banking in Nigeria. Refocusing the banking industry on real economy. Strengthening the role of the CBN governor as economic advisor to the president. Initiated the power intervention funds for the generation of electricity in Nigeria. Summarily, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi salvaged the financial system that was at the brink of collapse. His blueprints in reforming the Nigerian financial system was built around 4 pillars. 1, establishing financial stability. 2, enhancing the quality of banks, enabling healthy financial sector evolution, and ensuring the financial sector contributions to the real economy. The tough, decisive, and transparent actions of Khalifa Muhammasdu II, the civilian governor, earned him a global respect, which led to a special invitation in November 2010 by the United States Congregation Subcommittee on International Monetary Policy and Trade to testify on the global financial crisis and financial reforms in Nigeria. Whether it is on the global financial crisis, the prospect for economic growth in Africa, the problems and prospect for a new risk management culture, the challenges and viability of banking and economic reforms in Nigeria, all of which are home territory to him, or in his forest into the issues of the politics of Syria, religious tolerance for plural societies, Islamic banking and Islamic scholarship, out of which now constitute a second home territory for him, or in his comments on the human condition, the decay in society, and the ascendancy of corruption. His mastery of the subject matter is never in doubt. His criticisms, hard-hitting and strong, frightfully factual, and his intervention interventions are always given with a lucidity that can be read with profit, if only for its elegance and lexical beauty. Many of these papers have been published in academic and professional journals, books, newspapers around the globe. Some additional responsibilities of Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II, when he was the CBN governor, and now chairman of CBN board, chairman Nigeria Security Printing and Minting Company, member of the National Economic Council, member of the International Islamic Liquidity Management Corporation, member of the Islamic Financial Services Board, chairman Black Reno Group, chairman of the advisory board of 1 Million Teachers, advocate of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, chairman Babangona, independent non-executive director of MTN Group. In less than a year from his appointment of the CBN governor, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi had received several national and international awards, some of which are National Honor of the Commander of the Order of the Niger, CON. Man of the Year 2009 by Leadership and the Nation newspapers. Man of the Year 2010 by Vanguard, the Nigerian Tribune newspapers, and Silver Bird Entertainment Empire. Sardauna Leadership Award, CBN Governor of the Year 2010 for Sub-Saharan Africa by Imagining Markets. African CBN Governor 2010 by the Banker Magazine, Global CBN Governor 2010 by the Banker Magazine, equivalent to Nobel Prize in Banking. Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi had been conferred with honorary degrees by several universities, such as University of Nigeria in Nsukka, University of Jos, Bayero University, Kano, University of Benin, University of Maiduguri, Benue State University, University of Abuja, Oduduwa University, Ile-Ife, Kano University of Science and Technology, Wudil, SOAS University, London, and Nile University of Nigeria, Abuja. Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi was turbaned the Damajan Kano on the 6th June 2021 with the demise of the 13th Emir of Kano, Alhaji Ado Bayero. Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II was turbaned at the 14th Emir of Kano on the 6th June 2014, exactly 2 years later. During the 6-year reign, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi, as the Emir of Kano, reinvented himself as a charismatic figure at the crossroad of tradition and modernity. Major developments were witnessed within and outside the palace, such as drafting a new Muslim family law, construction of an elaborate library, modernization upgrade of the 15th century palace Gidarumfa, revamping Kano city's ancient cultural objects, revival of the 14th century copper matter dye pits, renovation of old city wall. Following the footsteps of his grandfather, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi was appointed the Khalifa of Tijaniya Sufi order in Nigeria by Sheikh Nahi Nyas, the Grand Khalifa of Tijaniya movement, in May 2021. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, sitting before you is the savior of Nigeria's national system, a man of great accomplishment, a resourceful and intelligent personality, an outstanding professional, and a reputable Democrat, a man vastly endowed with knowledge of administration, human resource, and financial management, strategic planning, policy formulation, and execution. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Now, normally when citations are read, the person whose citation is being recited tends to be seated up here on stage. I didn't want to do that to the Khalifa, but I think if you listen to that role of accomplishment, we can ask him to stand up and take a bow so that we appreciate him properly for all those wonderful accomplishments. His Highness, the Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II. And now we start getting into the meat of our program. Dr. Andrea Brigaglia is a professor who specializes in research and teaching in the area of Islam in Africa, with a special emphasis on West Africa. At the moment, Professor Brigaglia is a professor at the Department of Asian, African, and Mediterranean Studies at the University of Naples in Italy. He is our keynote speaker. And before I pass the mic on to him, just to say, if you want to know a little bit more about the accomplishment of the man who is going to be talking to us about Muhammasdu Sanusi II, an icon of reforms, his biography is on your program. His full biography is at the back of the program. And without wasting any more time, I'd like to introduce Professor Andrea Brigaglia, who joins us online. Prof, welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You are loud and clear.
Alhamdulillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wa huwa al-awwal wal-akhir. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa huwa al-Fatih al-Khatim. The hosts of this event, His Excellency, the Governor of Kaduna State, represented by Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, the Royal Father of the House of the Emirate of Zazzau, the celebrant, His Excellency, Sarkin Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi biyu, the blessed family of Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse from Kaolack, all the distinguished panelists and guests, scholars and sheikhs, my greetings of peace to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am indeed thankful to the organizing committee of this event, and in particular to Malam Ibrahim Sanyi for having had the Husnul Zan, we call it, we would say the Kianzato in Hausa, of thinking me as worthy of delivering a speech in front of such a distinguished audience and on such an auspicious event. This was an invitation that I must say I have accepted with a feeling of honor that actually bordered embarrassment. I now want to start with a brief acknowledgement of the man who has guided me in my journey of studying the history of Islam in Nigeria since I was little more than a teenager, because I have to do haq to those who have a haq over me. He is my mentor and guide, Sheikh Bashir Buhari Al-Rumi Al-Marhum, Qaddasallahu Sirrahu. And I want to say that I was sitting with him in his house in Jambulo in Kano in 2014, when the news of the appointment of Sanusi Lamido Sanusi as new Emir of Kano after the passing away of the beloved father of the people of Kano, Al-Haji Adobayero, reached us. So we asked the Sheikh, his Al-Baraka Chimbaki, to put some, to give us his opinion and bless us with his opinion on the matter. As a response, the Sheikh not only prayed for the new Emir, but he also added an additional prayer that has a specific significance for me today. He said, let us also pray that one day he will be appointed as a Khalifa of the Tijaniya, as his grandfather was appointed before him. And he pointed with his finger to a laminated letter with the signature of Sheikh Ibrahim Niass from the time when he appointed Emir Sanusi the first as his Khalifa. For his personal story, to Sheikh Malam Bashir, Kano, and in particular the Kano royal house, meant a lot. In fact, he was a man who, after having lived through the excitement of the first boom of the Faida Tijaniya in Nigeria and the first visits of Sheikh Ibrahim Niass in the late 40s and early 50s, he was forced to leave his home in what is today Zamfara state, and he moved to Kano in exile. For him and for his family then, the Kano of Dabo, the Kano of Abdullahi Bayero, the Kano of Muhammasdu Sanusi the first, was not only the proverbial Tumbingiwa where everyone finds a business, but it was also a concrete anchor of safety and security. His house is one of the few places where I witnessed the old practice of concluding the daily wazifa of the Tijaniya with the sending of hadiyah to the soul of Khalifa Sanusi the first, amongst others. Hadiyah is a customary spiritual gift that is sent to a religious authority with whom one is feeling indebted, in the form of extra litanies that are recited on his behalf. And even if God has called the soul of Sheikh Malam Bashir to him before the appointment of Sanusi II as Khalifa, after him, his family has thought that if he was alive, he would have added Khalifa Sanusi II as a recipient of the daily hadiyah after Wazifa too. And so they had done. So making the Khalifa aware that somewhere in Jambulo, Kano, he is receiving a daily spiritual gift by a group of people that I look upon to as my elders, is my very humble birthday gift unto him. I had the pleasure of sitting with the Khalifa on one occasion in 2002. I was very young at the time. I must still have the recording of my interview with him in one of those old cassettes that were used at the time, somewhere in my archive. I was doing research on oral tafsir, Quranic exegesis in northern Nigeria, and I was literally blown away by the depth of spiritual and intellectual engagement with the Quran that I could witness among Nigerian ulama of various affiliation, but also by the simplicity with which all these elders I was interviewing would interact with me. I didn't expect that, frankly, to be. And when I think about those moments, whether it is eating tuwon masara from the same kwano with Sheikh Lahirubai Bauchi, while learning about the virtues of Quranic memorization in a traditional Sangaya, or being offered tea and sweets by the late Sheikh Sanusi Gumbi, while chatting about the tafsir and the life of his mentor, Sheikh Abu Bakr Gumi, or whether it is sitting for hours with the late Sheikh Jafar Mahmoud Adam, listening to his experiences during his studies in Saudi Arabia, or again, witnessing the late Sheikh Umar Sanda Kaduna coming out of his khalwa, which was by far his favorite pastime, only to honor the unannounced visit of this dusty Italian traveler coming with public transport from Kano. I still have goosebumps. Not to talk of the blessings that would come over the following years, the pleasure of being nourished with burasa and words of wisdom by Sheikh Dr. Lawi Atiku in Sanka, or the emotion of witnessing Sheikh Abu Bakr Rufai Nawali organizing a full Maulid with plenty of suya, only to welcome a visit of my father, a non-Muslim old man, to his house in Yakasai. Now, the mention of all these names is not a diversion from our topic today, or in joining you today in celebrating a man. It is in fact your collective history as Nigerians, your past, your present, your future, that I want to celebrate with you. As for my penchant for joining the mention of every name with that of a food, you will have to forgive me, as this is part of my Italianness, which has not abandoned me. This is our culture works. Now, while I was carrying out this research on the history of Quranic exegesis in Nigeria, I was advised by someone to try and have a chat, among others, with a then emerging, vibrant, but also somewhat controversial intellectual, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. And so I did. Our meeting turned out to be a memorable one for me, just as the meal he generously offered. I think it must have been unkaso with Mir Kabewa. Today, 21 years
BBC da an yaba da mun kokorto, a sun Jamus da muryar Amerika sai mahado, sun gani kuma sun gani kuma sun gani kuma sun jinjina gwagwado. Amma China sun ne masu sai tarado, sun ji su ba kuma sun yaba da mun kokorto. Sai ku sai ta kuri da kun ga mun kokorto.
Brotherhood of the people of Sokoto State, His Highness the Khalifa, on this very auspicious and special event, marking your 60th birthday. Indeed, I salute the organizers of this event for making it possible for us to physically be here, and those who must have joined us virtually to celebrate this icon. 60 years down the line, His Highness Khalifa Sanusi the second has traversed so many spheres of life, has carried out very many challenging responsibilities, and has done in those responsibilities exceedingly well. He deserves to be celebrated. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your life, and we pray unto him to continue to guide you in the service of humanity. You have seen it all, from Sanusi the Prince to the banker, the academic, the activist. I don't know why that was missing in so many of what has been said here. His Highness has been an activist, even where activism may not be tolerated. And that is his personality. You cannot take that away from him. Is it intellectual activism? Is it activism in banking reforms? Is it activism even in traditional institutions and reforms? Or even in personal life? He has been a very courageous personality, even at very, very high costs. But he speaks his mind and he says it as he perceives it and understands it, and without meaning any harm. Your Highness, you have done quite a lot for the Ummah. You have done quite a lot for the Nigerian society. And indeed, we are very proud. I personally am very proud to be associated with you. We have come a long way, for those who may not know. But I and His Highness do know and understand where our paths cross and where we have been working together quietly and silently for the benefit of our Ummah and the society. Your Highness, on this day and going forward, we, the people of Sokoto State, wish you very well. May Allah continue to guide you in all of your endeavors. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Another round of applause, please, for His Excellency, the Governor of Sokoto State. And now we're going to take a video goodwill message from our chief host, the Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasru El-Rufai, who is unavoidably absent. Malam El-Rufai.
To wish me a very happy birthday. I have the great pleasure to wish His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II a very happy birthday. He has accomplished much in life, and I wish him a better tomorrow. I pray that Allah continues to bless and strengthen him. My story with His Highness began in the late 1970s when he was simply Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. I met this brainy young man as a fellow undergraduate at the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. He was quite self-assured, outspoken in his views, and clear about his future and aspirations. He exuded a modern and progressive charm, and with a clarity of mind that manifested in the erudition with which he expressed himself. Those attributes have remained with him through the decades. He is bold in thought and action. He has come to be recognized as one of the very best that this country has produced. I admire the ease with which he melds the traditional and the modern. His veneration for the life of the mind, his cultivation of knowledge, his dedication to logic and reason, and his proven ability to execute the decisions which the facts compel. His Highness Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II has stood out as an academic, banker, and risk manager par excellence by the time he was in his 40s. He then moved on to become a central banker of global repute, a reform-minded emir, and a distinguished Islamic scholar. As a public intellectual, he has set out clear thoughts for a progressive Nigeria, a vision of rational economic choices and enlightened public leadership. He's a man of gravitas and the most forthright friend anyone can have. Our decades of friendship reflect our mutual admiration and a commitment to being frank and open to each other. He has spoken often about how I make him appear like the moderate, but that can be reassessed and perhaps reinterpreted in reverse, given the things he has said, done, and continued to thrive. I thank him for his friendship and the service he continues to render to Nigeria in general, and to the Muslim Ummah as a key leader and Khalifa of the Tijaniya Islamic movement in our country and surroundings. We are particularly grateful for his support for our governance agenda in Kano State.
The remarks of His Excellency Malam Nasir Rufai, the Governor of Kaduna State. Before we continue with the goodwill messages, can I ask people with cameras to please be a little bit thoughtful and understand that we want you to do your job, but we also want people who've traveled from different places to be here to actually get the best of this event. And so if you block them, either whether it's with a phone or with a camera, it really isn't fair. Thank you so much. And now for the next goodwill message, I'd like a microphone taken to His Royal Highness, the Emir of Ringim, Sayyidi Abubakar Mahmood, for the message. Take a microphone to him. I think he might be sitting, yes, there.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks to be to Allah, the Almighty, and good you Allah, Malala Sallallahu da taro albarka da ta zauna alhamdulillah.
Short and sweet and to the point. His Royal Highness, Emir of Ringim, thank you very much. The next goodwill remarks are from His Royal Highness, the Emir of Awe, Alhaji Isa Abubakar II. He can also be given the mic or he can choose to come up here. It's really up to him.
من الشيطان الرجيم والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, every represented by the Deputy Governor, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Sokoto State, Your Highness, the Mayor of Zazzau, and Chairman of this occasion, the Khalifa of Tijaniya, Malam Muhammasdu Sanusi II, Your Highness, the Emir of Ringim, I beg to stand at the decision of the protocol. I wish to speak in Hausa. Why? Because turancin bai ishe mu ba. A madadin jama'a na masarautar Awai, muna mika sakon fatan alherinmu ga Khalifan Tijjaniya. A gare mu jama'an Awai, misali da muka gani na imani da kaddara wanda ba za mu manta da shi ba shine akan Khalifan Tijjaniya. Manzon tsira ya yi koyi da cewa a cikin ƙa'idodin imani shine ka imani da kaddara mai kyau ko mummuna. Mu a gare mu mun koyi wannan kuma ba za mu mance da shi ba a wajen Khalifa. Muna fata wannan imani da ya yi Allah ya saka mai da mafificin alkhairi. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, His Royal Highness. And now I'd like to call the sister to the Khalifa, Dr. Mariam Abubakar Abba. She's also a lecturer at the Federal College of Education. Dr. Mariam Abubakar Abba, please come up to deliver your goodwill message.
بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي الكريم. All protocols are duly observed. I stand here humbly to represent the family of that great person who I consider as our father as well as a mentor, the Khalifa of Tijaniya Sufism sect in Nigeria, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano. We always see him as a family man who never left his family despite his commitments. He always have time for us with his support to advise us in terms of education, office work, matrimonial, and all other social activities. He always have an attentive listening ear for us. Whenever we consult him for an advice, the outcome is always the best. Alhamdulillah. Apart from the deep care he has for us as his family, he also has an innate passion for the girl child education. And he always advocates that the girl child must be educated. And she has to be properly taken care of. And she has to be catered in all aspects of life. That is why he developed an Islamic social reform while he became the Emir of Kano. We thank him for that. Alhamdulillah. He has a deep sympathy for the masses, the poor, the orphans, and the less privileged ones. Kano will never forget you, sir. We are always praying that one day you will come back to continue what you have started. Inshallah. Inshallah. The Emir and the Khalifa of Tijaniya in Nigeria has a thirst for knowledge, and he has a passion of reading. That passion of reading is what led him to make a habit of reading always, and that's why he had acquired a vast knowledge in all aspects of life. And this is what made him an intellectual also. He is a reflection of a mirror and of emulation. So, to us, Khalifa is a father, a mentor, a guide everyone could ever ask for. Alhamdulillah, سامحوني بأن أتكلم باللغة العربية نظرا لأنني يعني دائما حيثما أكون أعتبر هذا الرجل العظيم لأنه شخصية فريدة من نوعه. يعني أنا أعتبره أبي في أي مكان، أبي الذي أفتخر به ولا أن أستطيع أن أقارنه مع أي شيء. وهو الذي أخذني إلى دولة السودان لأول مرة، وقد كنت قد صدمت في ذلك اليوم. قد حدث لي شيء لا أنساه أبدا، ولكن لخير. يعني قال لي يا مريم أحسب أن تذهبي إلى السودان لتدرسي هناك، عسى أن ينفع بك الأمة الإسلامية. وها هو قد حصل. لقد تحصلت على البكالوريوس والماجستير والدكتوراه في نيجيريا، وما كنت أعمل في مجال التعليم ولا أود أن أبدل التعليم بأي شيء. يعني كل هذا من فضله. جزاك الله خير.
He deserves a bigger round of applause, I'm sure. Thank you so much. See, you people, there's a governor there, and you people are blocking his view. If his security come and start dealing with you, don't come and talk to me. Oh. Thank you very much again for that. I want to announce a slight adjustment to the program. If you look at your program, we had planned for 2 sessions. We're going to try and cram everything into 1 session and try and conclude at 1:30, inshallah. And the reason is that We've had a few issues, including, unfortunately, an accident by Professor Makari. I'm happy to say he's fine, but he was involved in a car accident coming for this event, and so his session is not going to take place. So just wanted to let you know so that when we start moving things around, you are not confused about what is going on. We'll try and keep things short and sweet and to the point. And that's the end of the goodwill messages. Thank you very much. And now I want to call Professor Salisu Shehu to come and do the book review, after which we will have a book presentation very quickly before going to the guest speech. Professor Salisu Shehu, who happens to be my classmate, he's now better educated than me. He's a director, Center for Islamic Civilization and Interfaith Dialogue, Bayero University, Kano, and also the VC a VC at a university in Sumaila in Kano State. He's also the Deputy Secretary General, Nigeria, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. Professor Salisu Shehu, please, my very educated former classmate.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Your Excellency, the Governor of Kaduna State, ably represented here by Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor. Your Excellency, the Governor of Sokoto State, Barrister Aminu Waziri Tambuwal. Your Highness, Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II, the celebrant for whom we all gathered here today. The chairman of the occasion, His Highness, the Emir of Zazzau, His Excellency Ambassador Ahmad Nuhu Bamali, other highnesses that are here, distinguished scholars and guests, and all other protocols duly and most respectfully observed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your Excellency, Your Highness, I stand here to make a very quick review of the book that has been authored and published in your honor, the farewell address of His Highness Muhammasdu Sanusi II, the former Emir of Kano, a brief analysis. This is a book that has been put together in Hausa, English, and Arabic. The speech upon which the analysis was made, Your Highness, was your speech that was delivered at the point of departure from Gidandabo on the 9th of March, 2020. And the gentleman standing besides me is Malam Ahmad Anas Salisu, the personal assistant to His Royal Highness the Emir of Misau, who transcribed the speech which was originally delivered in Hausa language. He transcribed it and he made commentaries on it in Hausa also. Both the text of the speech and the commentaries he made on it were then translated from Hausa to English, and I believe also from Hausa to Arabic. So the book, as it is, can be described, Your Highness, not an ingausa as we normally say, when there is a combination of Hausa and English, we say ingausa. But this is a book that appears to be unique and somehow novel, at least here with us, that puts together three languages at the same time: English or Hausa, English, and Arabic. Maybe we can say Ingarausa instead of Ingausa. He has done a very good job of it, an excellent one for that matter, Your Excellency and Your Highness. And I think the most amazing thing that he did in his commentary and analysis of your speech, Your Highness, is that he expounded and he extolled some of the very inspiring attributes and personal attributes and personal virtues that you exhibited, Your Highness, in both posture and in the text of the speech. And at that very critical moment, very critical, very trying moment, Your Highness, but you exhibited those attributes and virtues that are really very inspiring. He expounded this and extolled them in his commentary on your speech. And these include, among other things, courage, bravery, and brevity, all at the same time. But these were also ornamented with calmness, humility and humbleness, and sobriety. And as it were, intelligence, brilliance, and sharpness of mind and thought. Most importantly, however, Your Highness, most importantly, were the attributes of faith, conviction, and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which you showed at the moment. As I was watching the video, after reading the book, I could not but had to look for the video again. And I was watching the video this morning. I was looking at the posture and the very inspiring, insightful, and admonition nature of the speech. I was only remembering, Your Highness, I was only remembering the submission made by Mu'minu Ali Fir'aun when he says, فَسَتَذْكُرُونَ مَا أَقُولُ لَكُمْ وَأُفَوِّضُ أَمْرِي إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَصِيرٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. Your Highness, this was what perhaps aptly describes your posture and the power of your speech at that moment. One other thing which I must say is that Malam Anas, by doing this, has contributed towards ensuring that the speech lasts longer and remains permanently enduring. Because as the Arabs say, ma kutiba qarra wa ma hufiza farra. Whatever is written or printed lasts longer and endures and survives time. But whatever is just memorized tends to be easily forgotten. By doing this, Malam Anas has contributed in ensuring that this speech lasts longer and survives ages and will remain for centuries. When all of us may not be on this earth, people will still have it handy to read. One amazing thing that he has done is that at almost each point, he supported his commentary and analysis with the relevant verses of the Quran and a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That makes the book very rich and very educative also. I can see my classmate. I believe she cannot intimidate me, but I should be decent enough to stop at the time. Your Highness, I think if you look at the book, the Hausa version of the section of the book is very excellent. The Hausa is very standard, and the orthography is almost near perfect. He has done a very good job of it. And I believe that there are only very few editorial corrections that need to be made as far as the Hausa version is concerned. Malam Anas, you see, I'm coming from the university. I will not only say that you have done good, you have done good, you have done good. We also criticize. The English and Arabic rendition of the book are poorer in quality than the Hausa text. Of course, the speech and the commentaries were originally made in Hausa, but the English text and the Arabic text are not as good as the Hausa version. I will therefore suggest and recommend that if a second edition of the book is to be made, and looking at the person of Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi, who is erudite, fluent, proficient in both English and Arabic, there may be need to rewrite that section of the book. But as it were, the book is very rich, very inspiring, and I recommend it to all. Your Excellency, Your Highness, I congratulate you on this achievement. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Salisu Shehu, and also a commendation for the author of the book. A round of applause for the two gentlemen, please. And quickly, I'm going to invite Honorable Ali Ahmed, who's here representing the former Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, to do the book presentation. This shouldn't last too long. And then we go into our guest speech.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So I will not offend the law by Qadriya. Let me adopt the existing protocol. I'm here as a representative of the former Senate President, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, who is unavoidably absent because he's not on ground. My instruction is to make a presentation of this important book. The book is important to me as an aspiring scholar. The book is about 101 pages, and it tries to capture the lives and times of what the celebrant today said at that epochal moment. Now, I was told that our father, the Emir of Misau, took over the publication of the book. And the organizers asked me to make presentation, maybe still thinking that I am still a politician. I have ceased to be a politician 2 years ago. I'm now an academic as Dean of Faculty of Law in Bayes University. But a politician is always a politician. I'm going to do a presentation of this book. As the organizers have said that they will want more publication of the book so that it can be given to Nigerians free of charge. I took up that gauntlet and informed the person whom I'm representing, because as a Dean of Law, I can only offer a little. And as Professor Salisu Shehu has said, the rendition in Hausa and Arabic expectedly is not of that high quality as the Hausa version. Of course, one aspect of the celebrants that we have not extolled today, Governor Tambuwal brought our memory to the activism of the celebrant, activist as a scholar, activist as a banker, activist as a traditionalist. And we hope he will bring that activism to the Khalifaship of the Tijaniya Ibrahimiyya Kaulahiyya order that he is now leading, so that this book and the oratory, and that is the emphasis I want to lay. And as I said, Governor Tambuwal has given us one dimension, and I'm giving that dimension of oratorical prowess of the celebrant. And you don't need to go far. The 3-page farewell address contained in this book, unedited, the mukhtasar of that, we have seen how he exhibits his oratorical prowess at that epochal moment. So in order to support the further publication of this book, after scholarly review by people like by professors in English and Arabic, Senator Bukola Saraki is supporting further publication of this book with the sum of 5 million naira. If you give me 1 more minute, Radria. My leader, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, himself and I have come a long way. Indeed, there were times I was called Tambuwal of Kwara. I remember vividly when we were at the House of Representatives with the governor. He was our speaker and I was a member. And please, 1 more minute, Kadiria. The challenge, Nigeria was charged by the bluntness of the celebrant. He had said something very true about us at the House of Representatives, and it was a hard pill for us to swallow. And if you remember, that 7th Assembly was an assembly like no one. It challenged the president, it shook the president. So when it was the time of the then central bank governor, Nigeria was shaking. And uncharacteristically, he was given a platform to appear at the floor of the House of Representatives to come and defend himself. Now, he looked like a goat, if you permit me that word, to face 360 lions and defend his accusation. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of his address, which was televised live, he not only disarmed the 360 members, he convinced the whole of the country that what he was saying was the truth. In light of this, the governor of Sokoto State, in aid of further publication of this book, so that we see the oratory that this 2-3-page succinct information contains, and then further review in English and Arabic, the governor said also he is supporting further publication of this book with another sum of 5 million naira. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ali Ahmed. And quickly, I have 3 minutes, and I'm inviting Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf. He contested for the governorship election in Kano State. And yes, once a politician, always a politician, but it's important to say he's here in his capacity as the cousin, both maternal and paternal, to the Khalifa. A few remarks about the book, please. Thank you.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم. Your Excellencies, the executive governors of Kaduna State and Sokoto State, Your Royal Highness, the Khalifa, and our leader, Your Royal Highness, the Emir of Ringim, who happens to be the second best friend of my father, late Alhaji Kabir Yusuf. My senior brother, also the Emir of Zazzau. Other emirs here present, representatives, ministers, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, including members of the press that are here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I must say that I'm highly delighted to be in your midst to celebrate the first annual colloquium in honor of our leader, our senior brother, a distinguished Nigerian, a transformer, His Excellency, His Royal Highness, Muhammasdu Sanusi II, whom we are celebrating. A lot has been said about this gentleman. I don't think there is a need for me to take much of your time. But the little I know about him as a leader, as a senior brother, I must say His Highness the Khalifa is a very compassionate, trustworthy, and fearless person. I know him to be very focused, very determined to succeed in everything he sets to achieve. His Royal Highness brought a lot of transformation reforms within the banking sector, within the traditional institution, especially in Kano State and in Nigeria as a whole. Your Royal Highness, I must say that we, the good people of Kano State, have missed you. We have missed you, but I want to say that we are still with you. To us, you are still a leader. Let me say that yesterday when I arrived in Kaduna, I and my entourage decided to pay a homage to His Highness. Somebody from Zamfara State came to me, a very young man, and said, Your Excellency, if you permit me, I would like to be among your entourage. I said, you are welcome. We proceeded to the palace of our leader. And when I was introducing the gentleman, he spoke to His Highness and told him that, Your Highness, if you can remember, you employed over 300 youths when you were the governor of the central bank. And I happen to be one of those young men that worked in the central bank during your tenure. His Highness was so surprised, but I know deep down he was happy, extremely happy. This gentleman is now the Commissioner of Industries and Commerce in Zamfara State. And he told His Highness many of his likes are now working in different companies in different countries across the world. Your Highness, we thank you for your concern. We want to assure you that we are with you. We will work with you wherever we are, and we pray to Almighty Allah to grant you long life, good health, and prosperity, so that you can continue serving humanity, especially the good people of Kano. So thank you and God bless.
Another round of applause, please, for Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf. Thank you so much. And now, it is my pleasure to bring on this stage the person who will be delivering the guest speech, titled Muhammasdu Sanusi II, The Doing of Nigeria's Financial Systems Transformation. Professor Kingsley Moghalu is not a stranger. He is the president and CEO of Sogatu Strategies, LLC, a global investment advisory firm, and the president of the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation. Many of us know him as the person who contested for a seat of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria during the 2019 elections. He also, of course, worked with the Khalifa at the Central Bank of Nigeria as a deputy governor. Again, the full profile of Professor Kingsley is contained in your brochure. And if you want to know more about who he is and what he has done, please feel free to read your brochure. I don't want to waste too much time because I think his speech is more important. And therefore, without much ado, I'd like to invite Professor Kingsley Moghalu to deliver the guest speech.
Thank you. His Excellency, the Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, His Excellency, the Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, Barrister at Law, Your Royal Highness, the Chairman of this occasion, the Emir of Zauzau, Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, Your Royal Highness, the 14th Emir of Kano, the Khalifa of the Islamic Tijaniya movement, Sanusi, Muhammasdu Sanusi II, other Royal Highnesses here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me Oh, okay, all right. Sure, sure. Okay. I'm sorry, I was just halting to wait for the exit of the traditional rulers so that we are not distracted. Okay, all right, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to speak this morning about Muhammasdu Sanusi II as the doyen of financial system reforms in Nigeria. And I want to begin, first of all, by congratulating him again on his 60th birthday and to wish God's continued blessings upon his life. And to say before I start that very rarely in my experience has one person been of so much consequence to so many. Emir Sanusi, let me begin by saying that the ability to reform anything, whether a company, a government institution, or a financial system, requires two main things. The first is vision, the second is courage. Muhammasdu Sanusi II has both qualities in abundance. In 2009, on taking up the challenge of being the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria against the backdrop of the global financial crisis, whose spillover effects on Nigerian banks in 2008 were quite severe, Sanusi had a vision of a transformed Nigerian banking sector, one that was safe and sound, one that protected the trust of depositors in the banking system. He envisioned a banking system that was modern, financial system that was truly professional, and a system that served the needs of the Nigerian economy far more than the special interests that are all too often active and powerful in every sector of our country. And Nigeria's banks had become the poster child for crony capitalism. And Sanusi decided that he would set Nigeria's financial system free to serve Nigerians as it was meant to. Beyond vision and courage, it is also helpful for a reformer to have or to acquire subject matter competence. You have to understand what needs to be reformed. You have to understand why the reforms are necessary. And you have to understand what you want to reform from and to. So this is intellectual ability. The ability to conceptualize as a basis for leadership action. This is what Sanusi demonstrated. As I have often said in the context of my more recent political activities, if you cannot conceptualize it, you cannot execute it. If you cannot think it, you cannot do it. In Nigeria, they call it blowing grammar. But what it actually is having the intellect, the ability to conceptualize things, the ability to articulate ideas as a basis for action. Sanusi is a man of ideas, and he had several ideas that changed Nigeria's financial system for good. A reformer in the Nigerian context and that of our country's financial system also needs to be someone with a global mindset, someone in touch with global best practices. Sanusi was able to demonstrate that as well. The ability to adopt and adapt global standards. The Khalifa is a man with a global mindset, but with strong practical knowledge of local realities. And a top reformer must build a reform team, for he or she cannot do the heavy lifting alone. Sanusi had a reform vision for the financial system, but he knew that he needed a team of like minds with a clear eye to help him do this heavy lifting. And this is where I came into the picture. It was in this context that Sanusi headhunted me and recommended me to President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua for appointment as his deputy. I did not know him before. He was not my cousin. We were not from the same ethnic group. We were not even of the same religion. But he was clear that you are the person I believe I need for this job. Today, of course, many people know me in the context of my now being a politician, but I can tell you a personal testimony that although I had a career in the United Nations for 17 years, that many people consider a successful one, if I had not had the opportunity to serve our country alongside Khalifa Muhammasdu Sanusi II, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. Few people have touched my life the way he has, in so many ways. That is a separate lecture itself. He has been so influential in my life, and I truly appreciate you, Khalifa Sanusi II. Sanusi was able, it's not my intention here to go into the technical details of the financial system reforms in an audience that is largely non-technical. But what I want to do is to highlight the factors that made the reforms necessary, the principles that drove the reforms, the main headline reforms, and to undertake an assessment of how these reforms have held up, including, as is natural with these kinds of transformations, an assessment of criticisms also of the reforms. Why were these reforms necessary? There were 5 main reasons. The first was the consolidation of Nigerian banks that took place between 2004 to 2005. When the then governor, Chukwuma Soludo, said, and the central bank said, that all the banks in Nigeria, there were about 89 banks then, would have to move from a minimum capital requirement of 2 billion naira to 25 billion naira within 18 months. Many banks had to scramble, and many felt that the time was too short. The second factor was the global financial crisis, which affected Nigeria through its second round effects. The global financial crisis affected Nigeria because it caused a drop in the price of oil. And the capital market of Nigeria, which was booming before the crisis, also suffered heavily. Many banks were exposed. They were lending people what we call margin lending, lending people money to buy shares. Nigerians believed that the stock market would only go up. They didn't understand that it can also come down. So people were buying like there was no tomorrow. But when the financial crisis hit, everybody was exposed. When the oil price crashed from $147 a barrel to $47 a barrel, Nigeria was naked, exposed, nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. These events had huge stressful consequences and impacts on the Nigerian financial system. If this great man had not intervened, many of us here would have lost the savings of our lives. So we had the consolidation of banks, we had the global financial crisis, and then third, we had weak corporate governance and weak risk management. This is where his background as a risk manager comes into play. That single factor, plus of course, what Governor Tambuwal reminded us about, his activism, his desire to bring change in every situation he finds himself, and change for the better, not for the worse, was very instrumental to his success, the success of the bank, and the success of all of us. So the banks were not governed in Nigeria at the time, with very few exceptions. You're supposed to have a board of directors exercising supervisory authority over the management of a bank. But our managing directors in those days of our banks were emperors. And the boards of directors were merely their appendage. They would appoint you to the board if they felt you could be useful to them. And so many board members could not be independent. Many of these banks were operating scams. Many of them were into pure fraud. The managing directors would go and set up shell companies, fake companies, and be lending money, shareholders' funds, depositors' funds, to those fake companies. This is stealing. Let me just be simple about it. Because there was no oversight, there was no corporate governance, the risks were not properly managed. Here came the risk manager to take care of this situation. The other reason was that there was also a very weak regulatory environment. The central bank was so focused on the consolidation that many people believed that somehow its eye went off the ball. And many of these banks that were trying to show that they had moved from 2 billion naira to 25 billion naira were engaged in the building of what we call bubble capital. The 25 billion they were presenting on their books, many of them, it was not real. Some of that money was from unauthorized sources. And when you have this type of situation, you have the makings of financial instability and financial crisis. So it wasn't just the global financial crisis that affected Nigerian banks. We had a homegrown banking crisis as well that stemmed from the absence of risk management and corporate governance in Nigerian banks. So what were the principles that drove the reforms that Sanusi led? One was trust in banking and trust and banking. Governor Sanusi then would remind us that the reason people put their money in a bank is that when they go there, they believe that when they go to the bank, they will get their money. This is a core principle of banking, trust. You are putting your money in somebody else's hands to keep it for you, that when you come there, you will find your money. This is a very important basic principle that drove the banking reforms that Governor Sanusi led. The second principle was financial stability. He emphasized systemic risk, the risk that was interconnected between the big banks especially, that if one bank failed, one big bank, confidence in the banking system would be lost, and people will go to the bank, rush to the bank to begin to draw their money down. And this destroys trust, it destroys confidence, and you have what we call a run on the banks. That's how banking systems collapse. So he believed that we had to look at this not from the perspective of just one bank, but from the perspective of what happened to one bank, the impact it can have on the whole system. That is what we call systemic risk to the financial system. This was a driving principle of the reform. The third principle deriving from this was that Governor Sanusi and all of us agreed at the time, no bank will fail. No bank will fail. No depositor will lose one kobo of his or her money. This is very important. Those of us who are old enough to remember the failed banks in the 90s, when many people lost their life savings. Some people had strokes. Some people had hypertension. The crooked bankers that led to these scams were rewarded with appointments as ambassadors. Some became senators. Others became all other things. But the people whose money they had managed badly suffered. Governor Sanusi was determined that this would not happen under his watch. The fourth principle was an emphasis on governance and risk management of banks. The fifth principle was on banking models in the consolidation, every bank had to have a minimum of 25 billion naira in capital. This seemed a little bit unnatural, because if you go to every country of the world, you will have big banks, mega banks. You have big banks, you have medium-sized banks, you have small banks. Everyone according to his size. So he decided, and we all agreed, discussed and agreed, that there would be a new banking model in Nigeria, where we would have mega banks with global affiliates and global subsidiaries, national banks, and regional banks. And then we would have specialized banks, including what was referred to earlier, what my brother was speaking about, but he didn't quite call it by name, the introduction of non-interest banking, i.e. Islamic banking. I had the task as the head of the Financial Systems Stability Directorate of the Central Bank, leading the implementation of these reforms to roll out Islamic banking in Nigeria. I am not a Muslim, but the reason we did it was to expand financial access to people who did not like the idea of riba. But in a charged political environment, I took a lot of bullets with my head, including at the National Assembly, in front of the Speaker, Aminu Waziri Tambuwa. I accompanied the governor. I think all of us deputy governors were there. It was one battle in many battles in a long war of 5 years. And I am glad to say that we won the war. I don't know if we lost any battle,